Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Joanne Hughes. I'm a multidimensional holistic coach and practitioner. This is how to feel better now. So, in this talk, I'm going to be talking about my 5 minute method and also the concepts around my six week group coaching program. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So many of you right now are wanting to change something, but you're going about it the wrong way. And the reason why I say that is because there are 5 keys, 5 things that when we want to create change, significant change in our life, there's 5 keys that I talk about that are all intertwined together, that they all affect each step, each key. It all works, they all work together, and it's like almost like a domino. One thing starts and those dominoes keep falling. And there's 5 keys around that I talk about in the 5 minute method. And these are the concepts that we're going to talk about today. So the 5 keys that are really the most important concepts to understand are environment, which also some might call circumstances, but environment, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and the end result or the outcome. And so our environment are those things that exist outside of ourselves, that are outside of our control. They're the things that happen in the world, things that happen in the world that happen to you. And our environment will cause us to have thoughts. And thoughts are just those words that are, rolling around, rattling around in our mind. And it's the thoughts then will trigger an emotion. And emotions are feelings within our body. Our body holds those emotions. Our body is also our consciousness. Um, and so our emotions are what cause us then to take action. And the actions that you take in your world produce that those outcomes. So it's very important that when we're trying to change our life in any direction, that you understand how things influence each other. Because if you don't understand all those 5 influences, then really it's like you're in a funnel almost, because it's just everything catapults forward, everything is kind of just sucked through, if you will. Our Then our action, all of those things all together is just almost like, I guess, I like to call it more autopilot, that we're just in autopilot. Um, we are, going through our day, and in our world, everything is a result of the unconscious. And so first, let's go over the 5 keys, and then I'll talk about the 5 minute method, and then I will talk about the 6 week coaching program. So let me just bring up my notes. Okay. So I want to talk about first how I came up with the 5 minute method. So in my lifetime, how I came across these and how I learned them was that I lived my life very, very much in that vacuum, or just very much in a chaotic state and in an unconscious state. I would get up, I would do the same things over and over every day. And because my life was so chaotic and so driven by the unconscious, you know, there was never enough time. I had 2 small kids at home. I woke up, got them ready, got them breakfast, got them snack, things all over the house. So a house is messy and unorganized because when our inner world, is chaotic or, unorganized, that reflects in our outer world. And so go to work and, then come home and feed the kids, bath the kids, read the story, put them into bed, and wake up and do it all the next day. And because of me living in this chaotic state and very much driven by the unconscious, I began to get very sick. And, you know, as well in that unconscious state are those 5 keys and how all of those things influence each other. So, waking up and just, in my world and in my environment with the same circumstances and, never having enough time, so therefore, not eating healthy, grabbing what I could just to eat, fill the gap, and sustain myself throughout the day. And then the emotions of overwhelm, maybe of guilt because I'm not eating properly, my kids aren't eating properly. Um, maybe I'm cursing the driver on the way into work because my circumstance, my environment is chaotic and frustration and no time. And so all of that then started to influence my world and become it became very toxic, and therefore my body was becoming toxic. Which my thoughts were becoming very poisonous and unwell, and literally then all my body systems began to slow down or break down, and I was heading for a breakdown. And so until I was actually at that time forced to take time off work, take a stress leave, and really look into all of those keys, all of those aspects. And then really I learned and understood how all of those keys influenced my world. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is environment. So, in our environment, we have a spouse or a person we live with or we don't live with, our kids, our debt, our pets, our job. Um, those are our circumstances, and sometimes we want to change those circumstances or our environment, and that's okay. But it's also sometimes we don't have the ability to change our environment, even though we may want to. Many of us are living in an environment or circumstances that really we have no control over right now. And so that's okay too. Um, our environment as well could be our kids, our financial status, our career, as I said. And so all of those things would be our environment. And then the second category or the second key is our thoughts. So some of us, our thoughts are, I can't do this, it's too hard. How many of us are feeling that way right now, that life is just too hard? Um, this isn't the life that I wanted. I want to lose weight. I want to have a relationship or have love in my life. I'm to this, I'm to that. And so, how many of you are have those thoughts? And maybe they're, I'm too lazy. And so maybe you're having a thought like that, or I can't improve my life. I can't is really a really big one, a big thought that a lot of clients would come to me with is I can't do this. It's just too much. Um, I can't I can't function. I can't move forward. So that that thought is really big. And so then the third key is feelings or emotions, our emotions. So maybe some of the emotions that some of you are feeling right now are frustration, overwhelm, anxiety, even aggravation or bored. How many of you are bored right now in certain areas of your life or bored with life in general? Some people I find they have apathy. They just right now they just don't care. There's just so much going on right now in politics with the environment, with the the prices that skyrocketing, and so a lot of people just don't really care anymore about a lot of things. And then there's this, some people have dissatisfaction, just this really low grade dissatisfaction with our life where we just don't feel, um, we don't feel satisfied. We want to feel more fulfilled, more excited in our life. Some people want to just feel more happiness. Some people might be feeling hopelessness right now. And that's, going on in the world right now with so much hopelessness or hate. So it's like there's so much of these emotions that people are kind of stuck in right now that will perpetuate a state of helplessness or hopelessness. And some of you don't know a way out. And so the next key is actions. So because of the other keys, um, some of the actions that might be happening are actions that you don't want to be happening. For instance, maybe it's overeating, over drinking, procrastination. Maybe it's too much watching TV or social media. Um, so a lot of people just the message, the general message that a lot of people tell me is just that they're stuck constantly on their phones. And how much do we see that out in our world? Sitting in a cafe having lunch or in a coffee shop, or enjoying a dinner, and how many people are just on their phones all the time, sitting, on a C train. um, People are criticizing or over criticizing others. And maybe even you're judging yourself, and not only judging others, but judging yourself as well. So then the next key is um, the outcome. And so what are the first four keys creating for yourself? So now we're looking at under earning, a lack of accomplishment, uh, relationships are having difficulties, um, self neglect, um, self loathing, even, um, and all of those things, struggling, um, being really, critical of ourselves. And so all of those things, so those are that's the outcome then, that is the fifth key, is the outcome of how things are happening. So when you understand these five keys and how they interact with each other and how they influence each other, then you can ask yourself the question is, how do you interact with your environment, your world, the world around you? Because when you think of the circumstances that are happening and the results you want to create, that's you as well as being out in your world. Because I always say it's kind of just like your little bubble, right? Your corner of the world, your bubble, and all of that exists in your bubble. And then, we're not, we're like, it's how you interact with your world, and we're not taught, how to think and react and how to feel in a way that will influence us or at least have some positive influence on our life. We're not taught that. My glasses are really crooked here. Um, and that's the, perfectionist in me. Okay, so all of our all of our power starts to become by it comes from the influence that we have on our world. The influence that we have on our bubble, on our world, versus the influence that the world has on us. So we don't want the world to influence us, and we don't want our circumstances to influence us. We want to be able to have that influence on our world. And so when we can understand those 5 keys, we understand then we can start to increase our self-awareness, and so that we can change because now we're aware of how these 5 keys influence our life. And, as I was saying before, is how I learned that and how I had to finally understand those 5 keys was when I had, um, a medical crisis, when I was just my body was breaking down, the chaos in my life, everything being unorganized, the, dishes piling up, the bills piling up, and really toxins building up within my mind and my body. um so one thing I just want to kind of talk about quickly, and it's just a kind of a side note here, is our body, like our bones and our teeth and our hair, our liver, our heart, are all made up of proteins. And so what happens is that our body our environment, our consciousness will signal our environment will signal our brain to produce protein. And when we are in the stress response, then, we know that we go through this autonomic nervous system process, that there's a chemical release and a process to the fight and flight process there that happens. And we can actually, we can get our bodies to feel the emotion that will trigger proteins, but will trigger a higher quality protein. So, for instance, um, our body can start to, if you just think about it like this, I guess is the easiest way to explain it, is that if we can stay in the emotion of our future self, or of our life already being in that process or being in that state of what we want. What happens is we only have to feel that emotion. And then what happens is the body then signals the mind. The mind releases uh, and produces chemicals, the proteins, sorry, that are higher grade proteins. And the proteins, like I said, our body's made of all these proteins. And so what happens is that when we want that health and vitality, we want the good proteins, not the bad proteins. And so we have to um, really focus on that emotion aspect of those 5 keys to be able to stay in an emotion of what we want our future self to be. So that was just kind of um, a little extra that I wanted to make sure that I threw in there. But um, really, the process of creating any kind of change so that we feel better is just paying attention every day, putting focus on the present. Excuse me. Because what happens is that again, the unconscious is in the body, and when we are unaware of those 5 keys and how they influence our world, and the influence that those 5 keys have on us, we go into the unconscious. And when we're not paying attention, that's where really we get swept up in the influence of our life. And so we want to be able to use our brain, use our mind to be able to control and utilize our those keys and to really understand all of those keys. Um, and being aware of thinking and feeling. So really, life coaching and all the different, healing modalities that I took over the years really taught me about centering and the focus. So those are just the 5 keys. So I want to kind of go over the 5-minute method because the 5-minute method is just when I talk to people and I'm talking to clients and I'm talking to them about meditation or mindfulness or breath work, getting into those habits, again, when we go back to the second key, which is thoughts, the thoughts, what I hear a lot of is, I just don't have time. And I always say to them, because I know that people have this concept of meditation that you need to meditate for hours on end, that you have to sit in this, cross-legged position on the floor with your fingers in meditation in this pose here, and having no talking, no thoughts coming into your mind or into your awareness. And that's just not what it is. That's not it. And there's guided visualization when we're meditating that again help things to move along really quickly. But really the pillars here in the 5-minute method are things that you can do every day, and it's takes probably less than 5 minutes, but no more than 5 minutes, and it's a start. And I will guarantee you that once you start implementing these 5 practices, these 5 steps every day, you're gonna start to feel better. And once you start to feel better, because I know that when I do it one time, I feel better instantly, and you want more of that. And so what you do is you go deeper and deeper into this practice. And where now you have, instead of a 5-minute practice, you have a 15-minute, a 20-minute, a 30-minute, a 45-minute, up to an hour. And really, when we want to make that change, the first thing that we have to commit to is to, you know, giving ourselves at least an hour every morning, if not more, to focus on you and, setting yourself up to feel better, to feel good in the very first part of the day, because that sets the tone for the rest of the day. And so the 5-minute method, let's talk about those steps. So the first thing that we're going to do is because our first key in the five keys are is sorry, environment or circumstance. And so I always so or the first thing that we have to do is what I tell people is sit, close your eyes, and what that does is it takes you out of your environment. Because if you don't close your eyes and your eyes are open, you're in your environment. There's distractions everywhere, right? I can see the cat coming towards me. I can see the dishes in the sink that need to be done, or the dust flying around in the sunlight. There's distractions, right? You might be too distracted to take your phone, pick up your phone and start scrolling, or there's a notification that comes on your laptop. And again, the 5 keys are things that influence us and influence how we interact with our world. And so closing your eyes is taking you out of your environment. So you're going to sit and close your eyes, and then you're going to just take 4 deep breaths, like in through the nose and out through the mouth. And that's simple, right? Just taking those deep breath, and what that's doing is grounding you. It's grounding you. It's bringing your energy back into your body. It's bringing, it's bringing you back into your body, because some of us are not in our bodies, and that's a different talk for another day. But the taking those deep breaths will bring that energy into our body. It will calm us down. And um I mean, here's you can use that at any time, and just use that one step, which is taking the deep breaths, and we know that that will help to calm us down. And really, what it does is resets your nervous system, just by doing that breath alone. So that's why instantly I always say that you feel better, because your eyes are closed, you're out of your environment, you're taking those 4 deep breaths. It's bringing you into your body. Your body will naturally restore. If you're stressed or have anxiety first thing in the morning, which I know many people do, it's going to slow the heart rate. It's going to slow down your breathing, and it's going to bring your brain into coherence. Because when we're in stress or anxiety, our brain is not in that coherent state. It's kind of like doing this thing. But when it's in coherence, then it's calm, it's beating, our brain is in this, full, utilizing and accessing the full brain. Like, it's calm, it's not our EEGs, wouldn't be all over the place. Same with our heart. We bring that heart into balance or into coherence, because um, again, when we're in stress, our thoughts are taking us here, there, everywhere, right? We're thinking this, thinking that. Our heart is probably speeding up and beating irregularly, because um, we're in the stress response, or just in stress, period. And so when you take that deep breath, what it does is the heart will slow down, the breath will slow down, and it becomes incoherent, where it's like a do do, like it's more a rhythmic beat instead of do 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 do. Right. So then you have brain and heart coherence, which then when we have that brain and heart coherence, what happens is that it's like everything now, it's like this, that pressure that you've been feeling, whether it's in your chest, whether it's in your head, in your stomach, wherever you're holding this stress, this pressure of all that, the buildup of this, of your stress and anxiety, all of that now opens up. And so it's like almost like if you think of a flower and now it opens. And when we're in that coherence, now that's when we have creativity. We have the ability to think properly, to make better decisions properly. We're able to access excuse me, the feelings in our body, the energy in our body. And so that's also a time when we can manifest as well. But okay, so we're closing our eyes, we're taking 4 deep breaths, and now we are going to um, take another deep breath, but we are visualizing, what we want to do is pull the energy up from the lower 3 chakras or energy centers, because those 3 energy centers are the energy centers of lack and um, of the yeah, of lack, and of the stress, when we're in stress response, or when we're just living in stress and anxiety, fear. Those are the lower 3 realms of lack. And so lack and scarcity, sorry, that was the word I was thinking of, trying to think of. So we want to take a deep breath and visualizing pulling that energy from all the way up from the bottom levels, and we want to bring it to the top of our head, to our crown chakra, because that's also our divine guidance, our divinity, access to source. And so we're pulling up, taking that deep breath, but now it's more focused. So pulling it up and to the top of the head, or I like to visualize just at the back of my head, just before the top, which is the pineal gland, and I rest it right there. And so again, pulling that up, and then you can release it. Take a deep, exhale, and then pull it up again, and but then now you're going to let it rest in the middle of the eyebrows, at the back of the head, and you are going to squeeze your muscles, your abdomen, your perineum. So squeeze your butt cheeks together and pull in your stomach and really squeeze it, and you hold your breath. And so you're going to hold your breath for as long as you can, and then you're going to exhale. And then I do this, then the next time you're taking that inhale, you are tapping on all the energy centers. So where the hips are in the lower abdomen, tap. I just think activate just below the belly button. I tap, I say activate above the belly button, tap, activate the heart, and I usually like to just go across the chest, say activate the throat, activate third eye, activate, and on top of the head. And I mean, then I start to also get into a little bit of the tapping, and I just say, whatever it is, I feel great today. I feel strong today, strong and confident, strong and confident. I'm feeling strong, healthy, confident, feeling strong. Oh, I mean, on the chest, and then, sorry, it's in the thumb. I just kind of do it in the wrist. I do that on both sides. And then I just kind of go through again my chakras, and I'll go from the top to the bottom, and I start tapping on all my energy centers. And then we're going to do the pulling of the energy back up again into the pineal gland and squeezing, and you're going to, in that state, you are going to think about either how you want to feel today, what you want to create today, or your future self. And so as I'm doing that, I'm visualizing my future self. And I see the clothes I'm wearing, I'm seeing my hair, my jewelry, my nails. I can see, the car I'm driving. Um, I just see whatever it is, but in detail, every detail about one snapshot, and trust me when I say, um, as you're squeezing and holding your breath, you can see that, then releasing it, and then what I do is I breathe naturally, and as I'm breathing now, just inhaling, exhaling at a normal rate, I am bringing up an emotion, the emotion of what my future self is. Whether it's abundance, whether it's, you know, a trip somewhere, feeling what it feels like. I usually typically go back to Mexico and waking up in the morning when I lived in Mexico for 6 months and opening up the door and seeing all the tropical plants and flowers and trees and feeling that, seeing myself sitting by the lake, sipping a margarita, just the emotion of that, which is really emotion for me is gratitude and putting myself in that thought, and then again going to my future self, and as I'm visualizing what it is that I want, I have that elevated emotion. And essentially that's the 5-minute method, and I talked that out a lot longer, but once you get those steps in, um, like I said, in within the first before the first minute, you're going to instantly feel better because you're taking yourself out of that environment, which is triggering those thoughts that you have that then trigger bring up an emotion, and then from that emotion, it's going to start your day off with the actions and with that outcome, that end result. And so right away you feel better. And really just going through this, and if you do that really quickly, it takes less than 5 minutes, but it can take up to 5 minutes to do that. That is um, starting your day off in an elevated state with an elevated emotion, and with activating your pineal gland and opening up all those energy centers and giving you brain and heart coherence, which is crucial. And so, with all of that, now you go off through your day. But another thing that, which is in there, which I like to do with when you bring up the elevated emotion, is also doing kind of a quick assessment or quick check in of what you don't want to experience today. What thoughts are you going to prevent from slipping back in? So, for instance, if our thoughts were, I just can't do this. It's too hard. Life sucks. Life is hard. Any of these thoughts, you can think about when you're in that elevated state. You say, today I'm not going to allow that thought to creep into my world. And so maybe there's a behavior along with that. Maybe it's I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to curse my boss. I'm not going to argue with my partner. Whatever it is that you are consistently doing in your day, which most likely it's something that is happening daily because, again, we go through our day being guided and driven by our unconscious. And so making note. And so what I like to do is this is part of my journaling as I do that. I like to have my pad of paper or my book and a pen alongside me so that you can write down those things that today I'm not going to let this creep into the unconscious, because it's hard to work on staying conscious. It's a lot of work, and eventually, you'll be wanting to do it won't be the 5-minute method for you anymore. You're gonna want to actually continue and do this practice longer. And that's where I'll just, quickly talk about, as I see I'm running out of time, is, um, my 6-week coaching program that is coming up in March. Um, it'll be starting March 5th. So it's a 6-week coaching program, and essentially we are going through the 5 keys and, going through the 5 pillars as well. So the 5-minute method will be in this, but we are going to look at all of those 5, essential keys there and look deeper at them into them and start to become more aware and more able to you know look at how we influence the world, not we don't want the world to influence us. Excuse me, or our world. We don't want our world to just influence us because we're the creators of our life, of our world. And this is all of those 5 keys are how to feel better, how to have, like, better physical health as well. Because when we're sick, um, it's because of our thoughts. It's because of all those 5 keys. Again, you know, when I was having my health crisis, I started to experience anxiety, panic attacks, fibromyalgia, h epilepsy, and all of those things are nowhere in my life right now at all, including, occipital neuralgia and, acid reflux and little things like that, but all of these things that really, depleted my vitality, my wellness, my health, and, so all of these 5 keys, that's what it helps you to focus on, and whether it's wanting better health, wanting better relationships, wanting more abundance, wanting more joy or vitality, all of those 5 keys influencing each other are how you are going to feel better with all of those. And really, those 5 keys are the key to change and transformation with everything in your life because they touch on all of that. So, in my 6-week group coaching program, the wonderful thing about it is that you have community and you have support of your community, which is really, really important. By listening to other stories, it helps bring clarity to your story. Um, by watching or supporting or listening to other people in the group, it helps empower you because you're listening to their story that's inspiring you and triggering that empowerment and power within you. And so in the 6-week group coaching program, you have a community of support and people that are going through this process exactly with you. And we are also going over um, the 5 keys, and we'll be doing the 5-minute method. We will be going through that every day. When we meet, the group coaching is going to be 3 days a week and 2 hours a day. They will be recorded, so if you can't attend, if you miss, that's okay because I'm going to record it. And as well, you will have a workbook to go along with that. And my group coaching 6-week program is 444. And if you sign up within the next week, you will get $100 off that and to make it an even 333. So I will be posting about that and we'll be talking about that more as it's coming up. But the 5 keys are the 5 keys to change and transformation for everything. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I do realize that this is a recording, but you will be able to post any comments, any questions down below And I will be then I'll do another live to respond to those questions. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and thanks again for joining me.